welcome, ladies, to another episode of
Hello,
the Triple Spill. How are we all doing? You okay?
we're all good.
Right. Well,
Good,
we've got
yeah.
myself, Philippa. I'm hosting today, and we've got our wonderful Nordic queen, Camilla. I say hello, Camilla, and Rachel, who is our true Brit but living in the US. So she brings another little slant to our conversations. So here we are. We're going to talk about modern manners because we seem to moan about them most of the time. So we thought we might as well do a podcast on them. And I don't want this to be a rant, and so we're sounding like our parents did when we were younger.
I totally want to rant.
Oh, do you? Well, you can rant as much as you like, but I don't want to be
God,
sort of like, I
God
don't
help
want
us.
people to think, oh my God, they need to sort of get out more, but I'm sure they won't. But so we're going to talk about modern manners and all the things that we feel have gone to pot and things that maybe we don't need to do anymore. And I'll give you an example. Actually, it happened yesterday. I had a really lovely catch up with my old secondary school friends, and we went for lunch. And then today our WhatsApp group has just been buzzing with all this stuff because we don't see each other very often, and we've known each other we left school 40 odd years ago. So and all these thank you letters, like one of my friends, she keeps everything, and all these thank you letters have gone on there that I've written when I was, I don't know, 14, 15, 2-page thank you letters. And I just think nowadays that just wouldn't happen, would it? You just wouldn't write. And then the other thing was, when we had all these parties, 18th, 21st, I would hand write the invitations and then hand deliver them, and it says RSVP, and you were supposed to RSVP. This is a 16-year-old. We were expecting people to RSVP, weren't we, in that stage? So that's something that's just happened yesterday, which kind of highlights again why I think we wanted to talk about this. But if we start off really with sort of the everyday stuff that I think sort of we all get really, really annoyed with, and I'll start with you, I can't speak, put my teeth in. A starter for 10, and actually I put this on the Instagram, and I had so many people that said, where have all the please and thank yous gone, especially when you're opening a door for someone. It's just like people just walk through like you're some sort of servant. So that was one of the ones. But I think we were talking about this, weren't we, the other day, that please and thank yous just, I don't know, have they disappeared? I don't know. What do you think, girls?
Just generally, people don't say even things like excuse me or pardon, or if you're walking through a door now, and this isn't just a lack of chivalry, that's not what I'm thinking about here. I'm just thinking about just people and good manners. If you walk through a door these days, I find that most people are not holding it open for you to even just catch the door. So the amount of time, it could just be me, but the amount of times that I walk into a door, it's not really very nice.
Physically walk into the door, or
pretty much because I'm expecting somebody to open it, not even to open it, but to keep it open, and then they just walk past and let it swing, and I'm then it hits me.
Yeah. And the other thing is that when you're driving, when you let people out, why do people not say thank you?
Well, that drives me bananas.
It drives me, honestly, and it incenses me to a point where I'm literally swearing at them, and I just, I don't know why it gets me into such a rage, but they just kind of like, if you flash or you let somebody out, they just drive past you as if so.
But it's interesting.
Do you make judgment calls based on the type of car? Because sometimes
100%.
There's a certain type of car driver that I think you're the type of person who wouldn't say thank you. So therefore, actually, I feel a bit begrudging now. I'm not going to let you out. Whereas others, I will. And sometimes you're pleasantly surprised, but sometimes, most of the time, you're not. But it does interest me as
Although
well.
it's really interesting because there's a definite cultural difference between the UK and the US. Which is still something I'm trying to get used to 8 years on. In the US, it's really normal for people to beep their horns, like all the time. So if anything, even if it's just a little thing you've done, or just something, it's just a massive beep of horn. And in this country, we just then our blood pressure goes up because we don't really do that very much, do we? And if you do it in the UK, someone's had to have done something really bad. Whereas there, it's just literally and it's how they don't see it as a problem. They don't see it as, oh my God, I feel awful. This is going to be they're going to get out and, we're going to have a massive row. It's just like, beep is more a bit like, please, excuse me, can you just move out of my way? And for me, I spend my whole time driving just sort of, oh no, somebody's done something again. And it's just totally different the way that they're expecting everybody to behave.
Yeah, you're right. You're so right. In the UK, if someone beeps their horn at you, people take it as an affront. It's just like, oh my God, it's like they've just sworn at you.
Yeah.
And you see road rage just come from things like that, because it's just,
totally.
we just don't do that. But
And the
going
other
back
one
to,
is when people,
carry on.
when you're in a queue in the car, and a big traffic jam or something, and you've got somebody going on the other side, and you know that it's a dead end, and you know that they are driving that whole way down to sneak in.
I get that, but I have got a but with that, because when you get to I can't remember which junction it is, but there's a junction that comes down to a roundabout, and the sign says merge in turn, so it should be 1-1-1-1, but the British way is that we like to queue orderly, and then we get very, very cross when people actually go in that outside lane and try and filter in at the bottom. But if you speak to the police, they would say that you're supposed to use both lanes and merge in turn, because otherwise the traffic jam will back up even further. So it's just kind of, but I know what you mean. It's just like, you just feel so cross, don't you?
You do.
when people do it to you, or they go down, the queue's going across the roundabout, and they go down, and then they go round the roundabout, then go up. There's nothing wrong with it. They're not breaking any rules, but
why
it's
not?
Just like, is it acceptable? But
I think going back to the please and thank yous, I think from Scandinavian perspective, I think if we look at it, I still think there's more politeness, because it's naturally inherent for British people to say thank you and please and oh, excuse me, or not perhaps as much. But if you compare with the Nordic countries, it's still a lot more polite. And one of the things we spoke about as well is just the command of English that you have to understand some of the nuances. So somebody could be giving you a dig, but they do it very politely. And if you're foreign, sometimes you don't always catch it. And it's a very clever way with the British language that I actually really love. But sometimes things just literally fly over your head, because you haven't grown up with the nuances of understanding what a slight dig is, or a slight little, tilt, or a word that they use that could be perceived in different ways. And you don't always know. And sometimes I do find that I have to sort of check in with the local, even sort of 28 years of being here, is this okay? Or actually, is this a bit underhand, or is this a bit sharp? Because it's so nuanced. But I still think, compared to Scandinavia, it's still very polite. And I think I really react now, having been so long, listening to certain Scandinavian friends coming over, just how abrupt they sound. Because there's a lot of please and lots of sort of padding of politeness when you speak. That's just part of the language that we just don't have in Scandinavia. So it can come across abrupt. And I think that's where my English has definitely improved, that I do really feel like I try and add on and just so that I'm not coming across rude, because I don't mean to, but sometimes that Scandinavian bluntness and directness can be perceived that way. It's just because that's how we speak.
It's interesting, because I think that manners are probably one of the real examples of different cultures. I think from what we've said, that it's very different in Scandinavia, it's very different in America, and it's very different in the UK in terms of how you behave sometimes. I mean, there's a general rule of thumb of sort of, certain behaviors that we should adhere to, but certain things are really different. So, for example, in the US, it's good manners to clear plates as soon as somebody's eaten. Whereas in the UK, you wait until everybody's finished.
Yeah. So you're still eating your dinner, and someone will clear the plate of your neighbour.
Yes. And that's good manners. That is seen as absolutely get rid of the plate. Whereas when I first got there, I was thinking, oh my goodness, just what is going on? These people are taking all the plates and we haven't finished. And they'd even come up and try and grab a cocktail with a tiny little bit in it. Of course, that's bad. That's red. That's a definite red rag.
That's bad manners.
Yeah, that's bad manners. But it's just learning, as you say, how people different behave and what's acceptable and what's okay. But in terms of like just proper bad manners, do you think people are worse now than they were when we were growing up, or do you think we're just thinking?
Oh, totally. I mean, things like my daughter's, as you know, has been looking for a job, and she's recently graduated, and she has messaged so many companies. It's all online, they're all looking for staff, and the amount of ghosting there is by corporates is, I think, it's just not acceptable. Because if you've put a job advert out there on LinkedIn or Indeed or wherever they are, and I'm sure they get absolutely bombarded with applications, because it is online and it's easy to apply. However, in this day and age, it's very easy to send a blanket email to people that aren't successful to say thank you but no thank you in the nicest possible way. But it's just nothing. You just get absolutely nothing. And in my line of work, if anybody ever emails me or texts me or WhatsApps me, I will always reply. Always reply. And I just think that's just,
but also they never know who this person, whoever they're ghosting is their potential customer. So they don't, it's just a crazy way to behave, isn't it? And just manners, obviously working in the charity sector, which is what I did, thank you is the biggest way of getting people to give, actually. So why are companies doing that now when they didn't used to do that? There's always excuses. It's like, oh, we've got too many applicants, we can't write to you. It's mad. It's short-sighted.
With all the technology, it's not hard, is it, to have an email? This is the person that we've recruited. This is our shortlist. The rest, just get a quick email to say thank you for your interest, but not at this time, kind of thing. So I just don't understand why you can't do that now. It just seems crazy. But
I do agree with you, but I also think the working environment for people generally has massively increased. And I think the workload that a lot of people are struggling to cope with within the time that they have, it just means that the juggle of prioritizing and trying to keep to deadlines just means that you're constantly pushed. I completely agree with you. I think if you're inviting people to apply, but I wonder if it's less about manners and just more around the pressure on individual employees to manage a much, much broader workload than we did 5-10 years ago. Because I feel in the work environment, it's definitely sort of shifted, in terms of productivity. And I wonder if there might be something in that. But I completely agree with you. With automations and stuff, it should be easy enough to do a blanket email to everyone to say, thank you so much. Unfortunately you haven't progressed, but thanks so much for your interest. Because, like Rachel said, in whatever service industry you're doing, actually it reflects on the business. And
totally.
you never know at what angle they're going to come from, and you want to keep that good reputation for whatever service you have.
I think with the tech that we've got and with our AI the way it is, I mean, there was something, I can't remember who it was, but it was on Instagram this week, and it was a guy who was invited for a first interview, and it was an AI interview. So they weren't even, which is fine if that's the way the company wants to do it. I don't think that's a particularly nice way to start off a relationship. No. But he politely declined. I said, well, if you can't be bothered to interview me, then in person, I'm not the right fit for you.
Do you think that this behaviour then that is excusing people to not have manners anymore, just because if it's okay to not communicate with people in the workplace, then actually when you're at home and in your normal life, everyday life, it's actually fine too?
Yeah, I think so. I think, back in the day when we first started working, or we were at school or whatever, when you left home, you left work. And unless I used to be on call, so I used to have a pager, so I could get interrupted in the evening, but most of the time that's it until the next day. But nowadays, I think also employers expect you to not be 24/7, but my husband gets texts all the time late at night and is expected to reply. And I think people just become a lot more curt with their responses, because it's just, they don't have to, dear so and so, kind regards.
Is that bad manners, or is that just,
modern life?
Modern life,
maybe.
I mean, bad manners, I always think, is things like, if you're sitting on a plane and there's somebody on you've got a really small seat with somebody right in front of you, and they put their seat back.
Yeah,
well, and you think that's just rude. That's just bad manners.
It's not being.
And we'd all like to put our seat back, but actually, that's not fair.
Yeah,
I think it's selfishness, isn't it? that is now. It's more
I
about
think
me,
that's
myself, and I.
yeah.
It's not the consideration of others that is driving. I think there's a lot more selfishness and not thinking of others so much, whereas previous generations have just been around more of a community and thinking of you, think of thy neighbor, and being
I
kind
agree.
and behave a certain way, to be considerate, to because that's the done thing. And I think
Yeah,
that's, for me, that's where it's slipped. It's the selfishness that some people have in not really
absolutely.
caring about how it affects other
Agreed.
people. And that's what
It,
absolutely drives me bonkers,
It's
yeah,
because
like everyone's living their best life, and it's my
yeah,
life, and it's
it's
all about what
it's
I
that
want.
it's that sense of entitlement. I've
yeah,
paid my taxes, I've
yeah,
done this,
agreed.
therefore, and it's just like, well, yes, we've all paid for a seat on the aircraft, and but just because you want to, the other person's trying to eat their meal and you've put it back. One of the biggest entitlement things I've seen recently, which absolutely drives me mad, is when you go to the petrol station and there's a queue for the pumps because there's not, there's not enough pumps, and you see people who are going shopping in literally, because there's an M&S or Waitrose or whatever attached to the actual petrol station, and I've actually seen people pull up, park at the pump because they can't be bothered to park in a parking space, which is, I don't know, 10 paces away, and then go shopping. Now, if that's not entitlement, then what is? That is bad manners. Honestly, I'm it raging.
Note to self: don't do it again, Rachel.
No, don't.
Public name and shaming. I've got another really good one, and this was Christmas time about 2 years ago. We would desperately go. Well, we weren't desperately. We were desperately looking for a parking space going to a Christmas market, and everyone was sort of circling around, and we went to pull up in one of the sort of side, columns or whatever, just sort of waiting for somebody to go rather than just going around. And this lady walked to the car, and I said, "Oh, are you leaving?" And the lady said, No, I've just arrived. Well, it turns out she hadn't at all. She just spotted another lady who was on her way to the car. So she went to stand in the car parking space like a bookmark, whereas we were just parked right there and she wouldn't let us in. So I flew into an absolute fury, stood next to her with all 5'3" of myself, and said, "Play that game. I can stand here all day, lady." And we had a standoff in a car park, which didn't feel very festive at the time, but I was just enraged. And it was only thanks to other people sort of honking and shouting at her that she couldn't sort of hold it like a bookmark, because her friends were all over the other side of the car park.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
I think
it's this
that's just
time of year because I
selfishness.
remember a few years ago having a similar situation in a car park, and this woman sort of then somebody went into the back of somebody else and somebody else into the back of somebody else, and then this woman got out of her car and said to me, I think I hate Christmas. I hate Christmas. And it was just car parking people. I mean, the one thing I was thinking about with this manners thing is that it all comes down to people. Maybe
Yeah.
that's just the biggest problem.
We're all different, aren't we? And I think where some people are living their best life, doing their own thing, don't give a hoot about other people. They don't care. They're doing
No,
what they
I
want to do. But
agree.
when you don't sort of align yourself with other people who are considerate, or stepping to the side so people can get past, or people who are shoving past you, it just ruins it for me, because I'm
Yeah.
so about doing the right thing, for being considerate. And when other people don't do it, it really, like, I can't let it go.
Well, even
I
just walking down a street, you could be walking down a street and there's two people walking towards you on a path, and you have to then get off the path
Yeah,
because they won't move over. It's just
yeah.
little basics like that, isn't it? Is that
Mm.
bad manners, or is that just people not even thinking or connecting to the fact they're supposed to do it anymore?
I think
I
they're not
can't work it
aware.
out.
A lot of people are not aware. They're just in
They're
a
not
world of
aware.
their own, especially if
What
they're on their
about
phones. They're just
yeah. What about if you're at a dinner? Say you're at a dinner and you're sitting next to somebody you have never met before. It could be an event or it can be just a dinner that somebody's invited you to, and you spend the evening doing what you should do if you're well mannered, which is talk to them, listen to them, understand what let's learn a little bit about them. I found that I can't tell you how many times I've walked away thinking, gosh, I know so much about that person. They don't even know anything about me. Now, that
yeah.
could be testament to my boringness, but um, I think there are some people who just don't know how to do it. And the question is it just bad behavior? Or is it people, because bad behavior and bad manners, they're sort of slightly different, aren't they? Bad behavior can be just somebody who's just naturally doesn't know how to behave.
Yeah.
And bad manners is you do know how to behave. You're just not doing it.
I think that's communication skills, actually. I've got I won't mention any names, but I know somebody who's very, very well educated, got an incredibly good job. But when you speak to her, all she does is talk about herself. And you come away thinking, oh, well, that was interesting, wasn't it? I just feel like I've been bombarded. And she's not, I don't think, but she barely know. I mean, I don't know her very well, but I think she knows my name, but that's possibly all she knows about me, because I know everything about her, absolutely everything. And that's just, is that communication skills? I don't know, but that's,
Well, I just wonder if people, do people know how, do people know how to behave anymore? Or is that just me being really cynical?
So another thing that really annoys me, I had some workmen recently put in a wood burner, and they pretty much messed the order up in every way possible that they could. And they'd done a certain brick inlay, and they'd sent me the wrong bricks. And when I spoke to the owner of the business, he was really patronizing and said, oh, don't worry, dear, if you changed your mind. Yeah. At which point I went, I'm looking at the order, and actually you've made a mistake. I haven't. And the whole thing was very patronizing. And sometimes I find it really endearing if people call you, darling, or come on, love, or you can come with you. It can be really endearing, but sometimes it can be really patronizing. And actually that was really patronizing. And even when I questioned him, the words he was using was it felt rude to me because it felt patronizing.
That sounds bad manners to me, or sexist.
Yes, both.
Take your pick.
I think it was very much both.
Yeah.
And I think when I pushed back and questioned him, he sort of fumbled, because I don't.
He fumbled. Did he fumble?
Is that the right word?
Yeah, yes, I think it is. I think it is. You even got me now. I have no idea.
But I just found it incredibly rude.
Have you ever, there was a really funny sketch once about a guy, and there's the entitlement one where he's literally up at a desk in an airport, and he's clearly not getting the service that he requires, and he's saying, do you not know who I am? And the woman goes on the microphone, and she's on the tannoy, and she says, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a man here who doesn't know who he is.
Honestly, I wish I could do that to people. It's just that is brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Oh, I've got a celebrity one.
Oh,
so spill. So this was during the filming of the first Bridget Jones film. It was actually filmed in the office in London where I worked. Ooh. So we had the filming outside, but in their break, we had Hugh Grant. I'm sure he's listening. Hugh Grant had the offices sort of 2 doors down from where I was sitting. And a rumor has it that he approached one of the office managers looking for the toilet facilities, but didn't introduce him. He just said Lou, which she took offense to, and then said, no, my name is Helen. At which point he giggled and then went, please, can you direct me to the toilet?
That reminds me of when many years ago, when my children were young, I worked in an estate agent on a Saturday just because I really wanted to do some work and get away from them properly. I mean, I love them, but you know what I mean. And it was a very expensive estate agent with very, very big houses. So you'd get horribly snobby people coming in, often women, I hate to tell you. And they would just, have you got anything over whatever, two, and you'd like, what, 2 mil? And anyway, it was just, and this was literally about 20 years ago. So where I sat, the front door, the next to the front door was a cupboard. So the amount of times that somebody would come in and ask for something and then flounce out and then walk into the cupboard instead of walking out of the door. And that's what you want because that's bad manners, isn't it? To be like that to somebody, it's just they're so rude. And just to then, you just want them to go into cupboards, don't you?
Yeah, 100%.
That's where bad manners. That's where bad manners need to go, into cupboards.
So can we talk about phones and screens?
Yeah, we can talk about phones. I was going to get onto tech manners in a minute, but there was one more thing that I just wanted to bring up before we go on to tech, is because I've got a few people that work in hospitality in the restaurant business, and I was talking to someone the other day, and they just said the number of people now that complain because they want free food. It's just like they'll find something wrong with the dinner somehow. It's almost like they will engineer it so they get something, they'll get some free food, or the drinks bill reduced, or things like that. And I just
Another note to self. I actually this actually
What
did
about
happen.
you today, Rachel?
Yeah, look at me go. I did actually, this happened to us recently, and there was no intention whatsoever of getting anything for free. And we ended up getting a free meal, just because we felt like having a bit of what we call a flip-flop moment, where we were just cross that we were waiting so long for a table. And we ended up getting that. But the thought that somebody's doing that on purpose is horrifying, isn't it?
But actually,
That's so
bringing the
isn't it?
American side into it, because the Americans wouldn't think twice about complaining if something's not right with the meal. But whereas we're a little bit more kind of like,
I don't know. I don't know. I think they're really well behaved in that way.
okay,
I think that I sometimes worry that Mark and I are far more demanding of, like, we want a certain table and we want this and we want that. Whereas I find when I'm with friends, they're very happy with what they've got. And I think culturally it is different there, really different culturally, obviously. You want to be aware of how they work. But they seem to be a lot more accepting sometimes of things that perhaps I wouldn't be. So maybe that's just what I've seen, and maybe I'm a very stroppy
maybe you're
customer.
very entitled, Rachel.
I think I'm just a very stroppy customer.
Anyway, let's get on to tech, because that's a whole we could probably spend an hour moaning about tech, but phones, the way they're incredible. Our smartphones are incredible, but they are glued to our hands, aren't they? And they are very intrusive. And I think that has led to so many bad manners. I mean, the first one is obviously phones at the dinner table, people checking their phones all the time. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Can I tell you about a phone story that I
Please
had
do.
that was, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and it just highlights what's going on with this situation. I don't know. It sounds like I'm always out for dinner. I am not. But anyway, we were out for dinner, and it was a warm day, and there were two women sitting next to us. It was like a nice date night, kind of night out. Two women, very well dressed, seemed very lovely, like very refined sort of dinner, very nice. And they clearly phoned another friend, and it was on FaceTime, and they put it up against the jug of water or whatever, so that their friend could join them for dinner. So all you had was this sound, coming out of the phone when you're having a nice dinner in a really nice place. And I just said, do you mind, because it's just noisy. And it was like I'd, attempted to kill them or something. The problem is that a lot of people think that it's fine. And what's your problem? It's not bothering you.
That's the crossover, I think, between manners and entitlement, because that's entitlement, isn't it? We're out for dinner. We want to talk to our friends, and therefore we will, which is lovely for them. It's great. And it's lovely that they want to share that with their friends, but they're not thinking about the people around them and how that's affecting their dining pleasure. It's just, but that's the same as like when you're on a train in the morning, in the early morning train, and someone's on a FaceTime call or something like that, or just listening to annoying memes on their phone it's just like you've just got in the backgrounds of these horrendous noises, repetitive noises, which is just not being aware and rude. I think it's just rude. But
is it not being aware, or is it just not caring? Because I think they're fully aware of what they're doing. I just think they don't care. Which is worse.
I think so. Yeah. And then the other thing that we should talk about is thank you notes. I mean, they've gone, haven't they? Thank you notes.
Yeah, that's a sad state.
But is it? Because I don't know. But is it? My daughters still, they when they were tiny, they wrote thank you notes. But nowadays they write little, very nice WhatsApp messages for thanking for presents and things like that. And normally sending little pictures of them with whatever they've got. And I'm okay with that. I think that's just how it's moved on to modern life. They're not going to sit and get some sort of notes list out of a box and write thank you. But I know, Rachel, you
I was brought up to, the day after your birthday or the day after Boxing Day or whatever, you just sit at the table and you write your thank you letters, and that's what you do. I have a problem in that because I was brought up that way, I still sort of expect it when if I've done something or I've given somebody a present, I'm expecting something. However, I'm getting better at I don't mind a message on WhatsApp. What I really mind is nothing.
Oh, and one
I'm
word.
just going to
You
step
get one
away
word.
now and send a WhatsApp message. Thank you for my lunch this week, because that was really nice. So I'm just going to log off just 5 minutes, 2 minutes.
Yeah. But so, so say, and also how fast does it have to be? I'm not convinced that people realize the impact of what a thank you does or the lack of one.
Yes. Yeah. And I totally agree, because I've been on the end of not being thanked properly for something, and it does, it does sit there, doesn't it? It doesn't make you feel very nice about it, and it's just like, I'd still do what I do, buying a present for something, but
I don't. If I don't get a thank you, there's no more. Yeah, but the phone thing, I have to go back to the phone thing, because that's a problem for me. The phone on the table when you're out with people, or when you're at a dinner and somebody's on their phone, I think unless you're the president of, well, not even necessarily that, but unless you're, is anybody that important? Is anybody so important? I think it's fine if you say, by the way, I'm so sorry, I'm just about to I'm expecting a really important call. And I do apologize, but there are people who will just pick up phones and just walk away and just take the call without telling you. Do you not think that's rude? I think that's bad manners, but is that me?
The only time I will always check in case it's one of my kids. But I'll normally say to them, is it urgent? And they'll say, no, it's fine, I'll talk to you later. But, so I will, if I can feel it buzzing, I will think, I will have a quick check just to make sure there's no drama that's unfolding somewhere that I need to sort out. But
and also
anyway?
In exercise classes, I've seen people on phones in exercise classes, in gyms and stuff.
Well, what's the point of going?
I'm not a fan. It's like, if you want a coffee morning, just go somewhere else.
Yeah. Or maybe they should be at work, so they're pretending they're at work, but they're actually
they're important. Just so important.
So another thing that I think is quite British is that people sort of aren't forthcoming sometimes if they don't want to do something, and they feel like they have to keep up appearances to not be rude, but then they don't follow through with making dates, or sort of not being forthcoming. So they sort of make excuses to then not do it instead of just letting things slide. And I find that ruder. I think in Sweden it would probably, it would probably be more, you just sort of go your separate ways, and that's fine. Sometimes with friendship things, you move into different stages of your life, but I sometimes find it more confusing that people sort of are lovely and lovey-dovey, and then they never quite, they clearly don't want to make plans because they're never forthcoming with it, or make excuses, and I find that ruder and more confusing.
So is that being too is it being two-faced, or is it just people not being able to sort of just, they feel they're too polite to actually say what they feel? I don't know. I'm playing devil's.
It makes it very confusing, because I think if you just didn't want to meet up, then don't do the lovey-dovey thing.
Because we're just all conditioned into the way that we've used to doing things, though, aren't we? So I wouldn't have known that would be the impact of the way that we work. But then again, in America, I've got friends, and I might say, oh, should we do this or should we do that? And they would use the word sure. Whereas I think from a British point of view, if someone says sure, you sort of think they're not really that keen, or they're not really that interested, or, it's okay, we'll do that. Whereas actually it means, yeah, definitely. So it's more learning, isn't it? The different nuances and the different ways that you're supposed to take things.
This is what I was saying. I started saying to my children when they were little, they wanted to do something, and I'd go, yeah, let's see. And that was this is absolutely not happening, but I'm not telling you no, because I don't want to spend the time kicking off. But there's nuances in the language that you don't always know, and what means one thing in one language can mean something completely different. And unless you have that insight, it's really hard when you're foreign to know that.
Yeah, and I've had a few occasions, definitely in the US, when I've said something which I would have said would be fairly, like, maybe British humor, maybe like kind of deprecating or something, maybe a bit negative. And
did it have to do with your pants again?
Yeah. and it definitely doesn't land well, you know. So you think, I need to really understand this, and probably vice versa too.
They've got a very different sense of humor, though, haven't they?
Well, we've all got really different senses of
Yeah.
humor, and it's just learning what you can do and how you behave, and so then it's not necessarily bad mannered. I mean, even the when you how you eat and the plates clearing and all of that, that's really good manners in some places and really bad manners in other places. It's just sometimes not knowing. I mean, with women particularly, though, I do think some women are really bad mannered at. They might know you, but they'll just walk past you pretending they don't. I mean, I'm sure you've seen that sometimes when you've known somebody, you know, at the school gates, and it's just,
Oh God,
it's
yeah.
rude,
And
isn't it?
you can tell by their body language that they've noticed you, and they're all of a sudden just
Yeah.
looking the other way. It's so obvious.
Is this the British politeness?
I
Of
don't
just
know, but
pretending that isn't, you know, Britain or British people are supposed to be so incredibly polite, but actually can be so cold and rude in quite a cutting
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
because they don't want to face up. But then I don't understand why you can't just say hello or, you know,
Yeah.
give a quick
But
little nod.
I don't think we are incredibly polite anymore. I don't think we
no.
are. I think that's the problem. I think that's why this manners thing is just such a topic right now, because all the things that we thought we were, and that we were, you know, well mannered, and we did sort of wait for other people to go before us and open doors for people, and, you know, not let somebody take our car parking space. But now we're all a bit like, it's me. This is all about me.
Yeah,
I'm not.
absolutely.
And I think there's loads of people who don't. And I think it's so heartwarming if we're going to end on a nice note to, you know, see the people who are polite and who do hold the door open and who do say thank you, or you get a smile, or, you know, somebody lets you out and I wave furiously. I was at the petrol station. I had parked where I'm supposed to park. You'll be pleased to hear, Philippa. And there was an ambulance crew waiting to pay. And I got them a bag of Percy pigs. And then I went off to give that to them because they were just starting their night shift. And I went to say thank you for doing such an important, beautiful job, and have a safe shift. And the joy on their face when they drove off that car, you know, the forecourt of the petrol station, they were waving so excitedly. And it made me feel really good. So even if everybody doesn't, you know, adhere to the politeness or the manners or the kindness, you know, there will still be
Thank you.
people continuing to do that because it makes you feel good. And
It does. And thank you
you know,
goes such a long way, doesn't it? If anybody says thank you to you, you just want to do more.
yeah,
That is such a
absolutely.
beautiful way to end this podcast, I think, just with a lovely thing to do. And yeah, let's do more of that, you
Yeah.
know, take
More
Let's
Camilla's
explain
model.
lead.
forward.
Let's role model good manners.
Yeah, and just
Brilliant.
go out and make people smile and do good things.
Agreed.
But thank you very much, ladies. Lovely to speak to you as always, and we will see you all another time.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
You're all boobs at the moment, love.
Not that kind of show.
Because there's the three of us, we often have a problem with talking over each other. And I've got this little thing. And I thought we should all get one of these so we can put our hands up when we want to speak. Although that looks
It
really
looks
rude.
actually a bit rude. It looks quite bad mannered.
I think it's my daughter FaceTiming me. Sorry, that was rude, wasn't it?